Um, I'm going to take a firm stance on this leadership and control, right? Because I will control my kid growing up to a certain point, because he's under my roof and my guidance and my protection, right? And the first thing I have to think about is my family and making sure they grow up in a straight line. After they get to a certain age, I pull the reins back and I let them develop in who they are. But the initial stage is in the beginning when they don't know nothing. You don't know nothing at 16. I don't even think you know anything at 18. You get a little curious at 18, but you don't know nothing, right? And at 20, you're starting to see what you did stupid at 18. So the first forms of a kid's life and development is making sure that he has the best tools possible to move forward in life. And if it doesn't come from you, it doesn't come from your parents, you are the first line of defense for all that. First line of defense for protection. That comes in a form of control. And to that kid, it's not control. To that kid, it's looked upon as guidance. And too many people don't want to put that foot down and make it guidance and control. So they let them, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do, oh, my child is, no, your child is dumb because you're not giving him any leadership to move forward with the right things in place. So you have to take control in the beginning. And then when he starts to develop who he is, his curiosities, then you pull the reins back and you become that guiding force for him, right? And then when he goes off track, you pull him right back in and go, no. You know, it's that whole bird thing. After the bird flies away from the nest, your job is done. And I think that for me, there's a strong sense of control within leadership, depending on the situation. And if I know I'm putting the one I love or my significant other, and I know I'm going to put the control in her to let her know that's a bad situation you're putting yourself in. The leadership in me is going to tell her not to go. Now, if she's stupid enough to break those two roles, then she knows she's going to be smart enough to know the consequences of her doing that, because now she's jeopardizing what we have. But all this should be in a form of discussion, how things are made. You set the boundaries, you set the rules. Yes, rules. Yes, you set the laws between you and her. All that is part of the communication part that you have an understanding. So first of all, she wouldn't come with you. She wouldn't come to you with a stupid question like, "Can I go to?" That's gonna put me in harm's way. No, and she's gonna know that the friend that you don't like because you know why you don't like her, she's gonna know I can. No, she's not gonna bother you with stupid stuff like that. Right? She's gonna come with you with things that make sense. And I think that's a very good part of leadership, and vice versa. I may make a stupid decision, and it's her part to put me in check and go, you did that the last time, it didn't work out too well. So let's try a different approach. My job is to go, you know what, you're right. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Antoine Christopher, 555 555 5555.
Control versus leadership, striking the balance. I am going to say that I learned a lot tonight. I learned that control and leadership are symbiotic and not all the time synonymous. Control is a situation, leadership is using your team to handle said situation and learning how to delegate. In relationships, sometimes leadership and control are synonymous because you must take control of certain situations in order for the relationship to move or the relationship to die. Tonight I learned a lot. Tonight tonight I learned a lot. That's my final thought.
Control versus leadership. I can do the leadership conversation all day. I would say to start off with, immature leaders use control and make it the norm. I think that's one of the biggest issues that they experience and run into as they start to get comfortable in their role of leader. And you will find that in organizations, you will find that in households as well. As that leader starts to develop, they start to move away from control being the norm to only using the control to benefit the relationship because they understand the relationship is the most important person in the relationship. An immature follower will actually use the word control to manipulate the leader because they don't want to conform to the agreement that both the leader and the leader and the maid, the leader and the led made in the beginning. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. Leaders develop and they grow. That's the key that we have to keep in mind. Leaders develop and grow and mature into the facets of the role that they're actually occupying, hopefully so that they can develop the lead. And so if the lead actually, has made a commitment to the role, to the actual organization, to the relationship, again, made a commitment to the organization or the relationship, I think that's also deserves to be said and thought about again, makes the commitment to the organization or the relationship, then they don't mind being led and they understand that the leader has their best interest at heart.
Leaders lead by example, and the leaders' examples would be the rules, the laws, the guidelines, or whatever the individual, whether it's at work, you have guidelines. At home, you have guidelines. In the States, driving down the street, we have these things called speed signs. If you disobey with speed signs, you can get a ticket. And that speaks to you, not necessarily the laws. So when you agree, whether you agree or disagree, you agree by either staying in the relationship, staying in the vicinity of the laws, or whatever said situation is. But a leader falls under subjection and leads by example to let you know that it can be done, and this is how we move over here. Now, if you want to do it some other way, you can do it over there. But as a person leads and the people follow, you'll see we all prosper and we all get to our destination.
On leadership and control, I believe that leadership is responsible and knows the boundaries for its own resources, whether it be mental or physical actual resources. And I think in control, you have to know that you have to manage your access to said resources. So you have to have the self-control, like what was discussed, and because control isn't always about someone else making decisions for you. It's about realizing what level of control you have, which is based on your experience, proximity, and whatever it is that you know. Plenty of situations have resulted in a questionable leadership decision or lack of leadership and control. There's plenty of situations where you can even look at the Menendez brothers. How many stories have we seen where defiant teenagers go against what they were told, and they go out and wreck a car and hurt somebody else in the process? And even though the leadership was effective, the lack of self-control of the individuals who were subjected to said leadership still acted outside the boundaries and got whatever consequences that came with it. So I think that leadership inspires people to be the best versions of themselves, because you can only have what your personal accountability that can afford you. And that has nothing to do with anything but self-control.